Greetings and welcome everybody to the Beers and Bodyslams podcast. Sitting across from me is a man who will never propose to his significant other at a WWE match. Good old JB.
And sitting across from me, he is my deep-fried Mars bar, the Irish O'Leary.
Thank you very much. We are missing our fearless leader, Mr. Fluffy, who is off doing fluffy things.
Yes.
But he will be back next week, I promise. And we've got a good show. So this is our post Survivor Series show that we're recording before Survivor Series. So we have no idea who knew that Hulk Hogan would make his triumphant comeback.
Make my prediction come true, Hulk.
He's back.
Still got 2 months left.
He's back in the good graces of the WWE. Yeah, it was crazy. You know, they were going to pin Shane, and then all of a sudden, would it be funny if that actually happens? Anywho,
he would not be over today whatsoever.
Yeah, no, that would not be a good idea. Anyway, so we're going to not talk about Survivor Series. What we're going to really talk about is the brand split. And we've talked about whether the brand split, the brand.
You can refer to it as a brand split.
Sound like Shinsuke Nakamura with a mouthpiece in.
I don't know what you talking about.
We have done shows talking about the brand split and its success or failure. What we're really going to look at is coming off of a pay-per-view that is the one time a year when SmackDown and Raw go head-to-head. Is that enough? Is the WWE getting everything out of what they really wanted to from this division of the roster, the quote-unquote brand split? And what do we think maybe the next superstar shakeup should accomplish? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about our wonderful beer and all that and so much more when we come right back.
Awesome!
This is the Beers and Bodyslams podcast
I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
with your host, Mr. Fluffy,
Hello, ladies.
good old JB,
Booty-O's! They make sure you ain't booty.
and the Irish O'Leary.
There's only one word to describe you, and I'm gonna spell it out for you. A-A-W-S-T!
This is the only podcast bringing you craft beer and pro wrestling that really matters.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, E-Generation X proudly brings to you its WWF Tag Team Champion of the World, the Road Dogg Jesse James, the Badass Billy Gunn, the new.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.
All right, my friend, what are we consuming?
Today, we are drinking from the Great Lakes Brewing Company, the Edmund Fitzgerald Porter.
Nice.
Saw this eclectic-looking bottle as I was browsing the aisles in my local establishment, and thought it would be interesting to try. It is very smooth. It's not a vanilla. It's not a chocolate. It's just a porter.
Mm-hmm.
It's a old-fashioned porter. It's an 8%. It doesn't drink heavy. It has a very smooth finish. And I enjoy it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm digging it. The only downside about this beer is that I keep singing the song in my head.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Anyway, love Great Lakes beer.
My first time trying them.
From Great Lakes?
I believe so. Yeah.
I want to say we've had Great Lakes before.
Possibly.
My
mind, he gone.
He gone. I spent a lot of time in Ohio as a little kid, so and you know I'm a lot of times wearing an Indian shirt and an Indian's hat. So a lot of my heart is still in. Oddly enough, a lot of my heart is still in Cleveland. So, and my wife is from that area, so anytime we get to do Great Lakes stuff, she's very...
Well, I used to frequent Kings Island in Ohio when I was little, growing up in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
That used to be my little summer retreat, so
nice.
I'm kind of familiar with the area.
Did you ever do Cedar Point?
Yes, I believe I did.
Cedar Point was way better than Kings Island, in my opinion. So yeah. So we're going to talk about the brand split and how successful it is. But a little news.
We have some breaking news.
Little news literally just came across the wire. It looks like Mr. Chain himself, Mrs. Money in the Bank, James Ellsworth, has been released from the WWE. I guess the 2 consecutive beatdowns.
That was a way to write him off.
That was a great way to write him off.
Yeah. Nothing left for him to do. He actually had a longer run than I thought.
Yep.
But when they put the dog collar on him, it ran its course.
Yep. So WWE has come to terms on the release of WWE superstar James Ellsworth, the chinless wonder who started in the Indies.
We wish you well in your future endeavors, my friend.
You can talk about how you beat AJ Styles.
Yes, they will never be able to take that away from you.
3 times the beating. So congratulations, James. You've got your freedom back.
Yes.
Now what you gonna do? Because he gone.
Who better than Canyon?
Who better than the Canyon? You're talking about somebody that could talk with a lisp.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's talk about the brand split. We just came off a Survivor Series.
Yes.
And, SmackDown's still kind of the B brand.
Yeah. I mean, it's always, I wouldn't say always, but it's been viewed that way for the longest.
Yeah. It used to be the B brand because it was taped. It was videotaped. So spoilers were coming out. So there's really no need to watch the show unless you really wanted to. They had some lackluster writing. They had some lackluster. I think some of the years that they had, and no offense to her, Vicky Guerrero was not really a draw as far as the GM goes. I think there's some other things leading up to that. When it was The Rock's quote unquote show, it was fascinating. They had some great matches there. I remember going to SmackDown and watching Eddie Guerrero, Chavo, and Ray Ray. But it's. I think the brand split did not accomplish what it wanted to, and it all goes back to writing.
Yeah, I mean, they had to do it from a depth perspective because there's no way you're going to get everybody on TV. The problem is they did it, and it seemed like they didn't have a plan for how they wanted to do it. It started off great when you had the thought of Stephanie and Shane being about, basically made it about them and their rivalry.
Right.
I'm going to have a better show. Vince, comes out. I want you guys to compete.
I want blood.
Competition. I want blood type of deal. It started that way, and it kind of fizzled out when Stephanie left.
Mm-hmm.
And Mick Foley at the time, the conversation was never about beating SmackDown. It was just about them putting on the best Raw they could put on. SmackDown the same way. We're different. We're the lane of opportunity.
Right.
They try to separate themselves in that way, but it was never about creating a competition, at least on camera. SmackDown had the pieces in place. They had Cena. They had AJ Styles. They had enough talent. They brought over Kevin Owens later on to where they should have been more established in. And I don't know what the ratings look like, to be honest with you. So I don't know, how far behind in the ratings they are. Even from a production standpoint, it just seems like it's a B show.
It used to not be that way. They raised their production levels. At first, they had different shots. They had the boom cam shot that I've not seen in a while. Maybe I just haven't been paying attention. But they raised their bar a little bit on the production, and they kind of stopped doing it. Let me ask you this question. Do you think that part of the reason that SmackDown is suffering because the viewers have wrestling fatigue?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like I liken it to the NFL a little bit. I had this discussion the other day where sometimes you can water down your product. The NFL is the biggest sports brand in the world. But when you have Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night football, then I don't miss it.
Right. It's ubiquitous.
I
It's
can
always
watch
there.
it anytime, and I think it's the same way with the WWE. And I enjoy what they did with the network, but at the same time, it's a double-edged sword because it gave people 24-hour access.
Right.
So now I can watch it anytime I want to. They've always had, 2 shows. I don't think from that standpoint it's watered down. I think the quality of the writers has ruined their product.
Right.
Because ever since the Attitude Era ended, I don't feel like it's must-see TV.
I agree.
And that was part of the appeal for me growing up, going back to NWA, going back to the Attitude Era. I couldn't wait until Monday night to
Right.
find out what was going to happen,
Right.
because either there was a cliffhanger or they had compelling storylines.
Right.
Now it's just like they're booking on a week-to-week basis. There's no vision.
Right.
And basically, I equate wrestling to a male soap opera.
Yeah.
Part of the appeal for people that watch daytime soaps is that they leave you with a cliffhanger every day.
Sure.
So it makes you want to tune in tomorrow to figure out what's
Right.
going to happen.
Right.
WWE has gotten away from that to where you're giving away title changes on TV. You're giving away pay-per-view matches where people are fighting 2 weeks before the pay-per-view. So you're already diluting your product. You have way too many pay-per-views.
Yep.
So you've diluted your product, and the stories aren't compelling.
And on top of that, they've also helped and hurt themselves by the amazing amount of social media activity. So, case in point, I was not home Monday night. As is usual, I watch, I DVR both shows because I'm never available either night because I'm busy in the evening. So, my typical watching habit is usually Wednesday, or I watch Raw during Tuesday and I watch SmackDown on Wednesday. So the funny thing is if you're on Facebook, if you like the WWE and they're in your timeline, you don't need to watch the show because they literally give away within moments of it happening. The events that transpired. Like, I knew Triple H showed up and was the 5th member of the Raw Brand's Survivor Series before I even knew that Jason Jordan was in, because they pushed it through their social media so much.
Yeah.
So I think that's
That ruins a lot of it.
right. There's no
There's too many spoilers out there.
in the age of no kayfabe, they pulled the curtain back a little too much.
Yeah.
And I think the fatigue part for me though is still true, because you've got 3 hours of Raw, and you've got 2 hours of SmackDown, and you've got 205 Live, and you got NXT. So here's the thing. I have to start making choices because I have a finite amount of time that I'm willing to give.
Exactly.
And although we do this show, we still struggle with that.
Yeah.
So I know I'm going to watch NXT.
Yeah.
But what's been happening is because I'm having to watch SmackDown and Raw, I'm not watching NXT.
See, unfortunately for me, that's where I have to make my cut.
Right.
Is I can't watch NXT the way I would want to,
Right.
Because I have to watch Raw and SmackDown
That's
to
what I've
prepare
been
for
doing.
this. So
Right.
I've sacrificed the NXT brand,
Right.
in the bigger picture for this. But it's like there's no way with what I do in my spare time that I can. My nights are pretty much shot.
Right.
So it's like I have to record and watch the day after.
Right.
So it's like I don't have 5 hours a week to watch wrestling, and it's not gonna
And there is no way I'm going to watch 205 Live because I
No,
don't
it's not
care about it
compelling.
enough. And I'm certainly not going to watch it for Enzo Amore because I can't stand him anyway. So he's not a draw for me. Now, for some people, it's different. So I think there's a lot of time. I would love to see Raw go back to 2 hours.
Yeah.
I think that would be helpful, but they still have a glut of talent, and the same problem that you said when we did the brand split. Well, we're too full of talent. Well, if that's the case, then why are we still seeing the same 10 people every week on SmackDown? Shouldn't we see other people? I mean, you've got the Hype Bros. You've got what's the Underworld dudes?
The Ascension.
The Ascension. that they're just jobbers. And you've got you've got the really cool stuff going on with the Fashion Police, but that has nothing to do with wrestling. That should be something on the network.
Imagine if you used that Fashion Files to enhance their in-ring ability.
Right.
How people would care that much more about the Fashion Files. And by the way, the fact that now you have that platform, it would help you get over in the ring even more.
Right.
And they don't use them, and it's like they're so focused on the stars that they're losing sight of the future.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like any good business, you have to have a good foundation.
Right.
So you already have the top of the pyramid. You already have your stars. You have to work on building the foundation because you're allowing guys like Neville to walk away.
Right.
You're allowing guys like Austin Aries to walk away.
And now you've got guys like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn who are upset.
Who are almost to that point where they want to walk away.
Right.
And it's like, if they walk away, then the foundation of your business crumbles because what if something happens to a Roman Reigns? And he's out for a year.
We've seen that.
Like, God forbid he has a major injury.
Yeah.
John Cena, he's on the downside of his career. Right. You can't keep relying on Triple H to come back and save your show.
Or Cena.
So it's like, at some point, and I've talked about this ad nauseum, your mid-card is suffering because you're so focused on the top 6 people of each brand,
right? That
you're losing focus. And I can only, as a viewer and a fan, I can only take seeing the Shield as much as I enjoy them as a group. I can only take watching them so many segments per show.
Correct.
You're giving them 3 and 4 segments in a 3-hour show, and guys are in the back and girls that have busted their ass for months that aren't even sniffing television.
Mm-hmm.
We know what they bring to the table, the top guys and girls.
Right.
And that's where they're losing people, is because after the Shield, after Miz, whoever, Brock Lesnar, what do you have to offer?
Right. Nobody cares because they don't know enough to care.
I'm going to tune in when Brock's in the ring, because you're advertising him a week ahead of time.
Right.
That's the only storyline that you're showing me ahead of time. Brock's going to be here next week, so I'm going to tune in. If I'm a casual fan,
right,
I'm going to tune in. Brock's promo's done. I'm going to flip back to football.
Right.
Somebody else, the Shield's coming on. You're promoting the Shield in our main event. I'm going to tune back in at 10:30. You know what I mean? So like you don't give me a reason to care about, Jason Jordan. Right. You don't give me a reason to care about Elias.
Right.
You know what I mean? So until they figure that part out, stop calling people up from NXT.
Exactly.
Stop doing it. Because if you're not going to use them, then don't call them up.
Right. Well, if you're a reader of any decent novel, mystery novel, a compelling novel, the writer's not going to reveal all the secrets right in the first 10 chapters, because they're going to set hooks all throughout the book that the last chapter or two will be the culmination of all those hooks that the author put out there. And I think too many times the WWE is just like, here's everything we're going to do. And what we're going to do is instead of actually relying on that compelling reason to draw you in, we're going to show you everything, and then in 30 minutes or after the next commercial break, we're going to show it to you again. And then 30 minutes later, an hour later, at the top of the next hour, we're going to show it to you again, because we got new people tuning in. They might have missed it. Well, if they missed it, they can go on social media and see it, for crying out loud. And there's no there's no dating. It's all just, they just swipe right, or is it swipe left? I'm married, so I don't know. It's all just hey, you look hot, let's bang, and that's it. That's all it is. And there's no teasing. There's no surprises. Triple H was a legitimate surprise, but we knew that he had been hovering around coming back. So
we live in an instant gratification society to where everybody wants to know right now what's happening. You know what I mean? So like, they put information out there on the dirt sheets or whatnot. We don't want to wait until Monday to find out what's going on. A lot of people are going to go online and read it.
Right.
And once they know it, they don't have the interest in tuning in.
Right.
Back when SmackDown wasn't live, they were putting the results out online before the show even happened.
Right.
So it's like people were reading the show spoilers, and it's like, oh, I have no
There's
reason. I already know what happened.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Watch it.
So they have to get back to creating the aura that anything can happen in the WWE.
I think NXT does that very well.
They have to the WWE has to get back to that portion. You have to make your storylines compelling. You have to invest in the talent that you've put money. You're paying these people,
right,
to be on your main roster. God bless them. Guys like the Titus Brand. You're on the back end. You're 40 years old. You are on the back end of your career, and I can see what they've done with him. They transitioned him from a full time to a manager type role, which was good.
Mm-hmm.
That spotlight needs to go to somebody else.
Right.
Those 10 minutes that you're getting, 5 to 10 minutes, can go to Dana Brooke.
Right. It
can go to Elias. It can go to somebody that you feel has potential 10 years from now.
Right.
And that's, I think, where the disconnect is that you're holding on to the past and you're not confident enough in your future, and that's where you can kind of see the power struggle between Triple H and Vince backstage, playing itself out, because Triple H is convincing him to call these guys and girls up from NXT, but once they get there, Vince doesn't believe in them enough to give them the ball to run with it.
Vince gives them a shot, maybe one, maybe two, and then if they don't instantly hit, they're done. I'm still shocked that Kevin Owens is still around, because he just doesn't look like it. He doesn't look like a typical Vince guy, and
they remind him of that every time they dig about his weight on TV.
Every time they can. So it's one of those things. So I think we're in agreement that the brand splits, whether the brand split happened or it didn't, I don't think that we would necessarily be in any different. We're probably a little further along because we're not John Cena at every show now. We're getting other superstars, but everything's kind of balanced out. So now we're just getting the same guys.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is because I'm a fan of AJ Styles. I don't mind seeing AJ Styles all the time. Because I'm a fan of Kevin Owens, I don't mind seeing Kevin Owens all the time. But when you look at the roster, when they had that whole, and it wasn't even the whole roster on the pre-show of SmackDown this week, I was like, oh yeah, they have a crap ton of people, and I haven't seen these guys in forever. Where was Elias this week? I don't remember seeing Elias.
He wasn't.
Where was half the guys on Raw that are usually being fed to the stars? I mean, I know they're there because they're expected to be there.
They're so fixated on the invasion. They're fixated on the go home show for SmackDown and the people that are on the card. Which is, I mean, I can understand you're trying to sell it, but you've announced Brock Lesnar versus AJ Styles, right? Mm-hmm. That match sells itself. I don't need you to spend 30 minutes of the show talking about that match.
Right.
I don't need a 15-minute in-ring promo selling that match.
Right. Not now. We don't.
No, because if you're a fan, you're going to want to watch that anyway. But like I said, you're sacrificing the future for the present, and that's not a good business model to follow. And the ratings are reflecting that. But
yeah.
So how do we, if it's even possible, how do we make SmackDown equal to Raw as far as not being seen as the B show? What can be done to fix that show to elevate it?
Take Vince completely 100% out of it.
How do we? He's out of the picture. Then how do we differentiate between the two shows? Are we making SmackDown a different type of show, or is it just another alternative to Raw? Like how would we be able to? Because I think that's where the problem lies. And the fact that the people, I don't think Raw should even refer to them as a B show, because that kind of hurts the product.
Right.
Even if it's in jest or whatever.
Right.
When you put that subliminal message out there, then people start to see it that way. Perception becomes reality.
Right. So here's what I think. And here's my opinion. First of all, SmackDown needs to be completely 100% Vince McMahon free. Second of all, there needs to be no cross advertising at all, because that's the dumbest thing I've ever. It happened like literally the show where Vince is saying, we're going to be separate. We're going to be gunning for each other. I want blood, all that stuff. And then there's like, hey, tomorrow night on SmackDown, like it's a commercial that the USA Network is running, which is not true. It's a WWE ad.
Yeah.
So there needs to be no, WWE is not paying NBC Universal for time to promote SmackDown.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
Yeah.
So there needs to be no cross advertising.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, third thing is, sorry, I lost track of it. I went
3,
from
4,
numbers.
5, 6,
I went from numbers to letters.
I failed math, so
The third, the next thing should be, write the show like a wrestling show. That in and of itself completely makes SmackDown different. It's very much the NXT style. NXT is a wrestling show. Mm-hmm. Ring of Honor is a wrestling show.
Exactly.
That happens to have some talking on it, but it's a wrestling show. The thing about both shows actually, and SmackDown actually has gotten a little bit better. They did the introductions of the superstars, and I can't remember which match it was. No screen. I can't remember what match it was. We're recording in my studio, and I don't raise the window very often. There's no screen, and a fly just literally flew in, and it's very distracting. The thing that bothered me is it was on Raw. They had both wrestlers introduced. They did the walk down. And then here we go, Finn Balor and whoever Balor is, Samoa Joe and Finn Balor against, I can't remember who they're wrestling, when we come back. And I'm like, so wait, let me get this straight. So they're going to start the match, and we're going to go to commercial. This is a wrestling show, isn't it? So if SmackDown were to just do nothing but pure wrestling, if Raw and SmackDown were to cease cross-promoting and it was 100% Vince-free, I think that's a hell of a good start. I would say get a whole new set of writers in, but that's just me.
I think they should make SmackDown the like an old throwback NWA type show. That should be your less talking, more wrestling.
Right.
Like you said, like I don't need a opening promo with Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon. If it's the land of opportunity, every week you need U.S. Open title match.
Yep.
Or you need to create a TV title. You need to differentiate yourself between yourself and Raw. The total show premise has to be different.
Yep.
The revival, teams like that, the guys that don't need to talk a lot.
Right.
They're just wrestlers. This is a wrestling show. If you want to be entertained and you want to hear the commissioner talk for 20 minutes, you go watch Raw. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't even say that. I'd say if you want to listen to commissioner talk, that's where you get your digs in. If you want a 20-minute promo from some guy that runs the company or acts like he runs the company, then you go watch some other show.
Exactly. That's what they need to do. Is the style has to be completely different, and that way it doesn't feel like a WWE show.
They need to treat it like WCW. As a matter of fact, they should change the name.
Interesting.
I just literally had the idea. They should change the name. They've got the brand. Might as well use it. So WWE.
We get rid of SmackDown completely.
Get rid of SmackDown. Mm-hmm. Just because from a business.
It needs a rebranding.
From a business perspective, you look at a pro wrestler like what they're doing with Rowan and Harper.
Yeah.
They're rebranding them. They're
Yeah.
the Bludgeon Brothers. They still look the same. They've got different outfits on. I'm sure they're probably going to still have the same moveset, but they're rebranded. Well, SmackDown went from SmackDown to SmackDown Live.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. It's live. Rebrand it. Do it WCW. Just call it WCW. This is World Championship Wrestling. I don't know what the belts would the belts would have to be changed, but it's not like WWE's against new belts.
Yeah.
But just go ahead and change it, and call it WCW or whatever the hell you want to call it, and then say, guys, look.
Yeah, because you got your NXT brand. You could have a separate brand. I don't know if you would use WCW because it kind of remind people of something that didn't work. You know what I mean?
Right.
But rebrand it give it its own name.
Give it a new name.
Have Raw be its own brand, and literally make it feel like it's a separate entity.
Right.
I think that's the only way they're going to be seen as competition.
Then when there's an invasion angle, it actually makes sense.
It feels like an invasion. Yeah.
NXT can invade the second brand or the Tuesday night show. The Tuesday night show could invade the Monday night show. The Monday night show could invade the Wednesday show. God, could you imagine what would happen if the Monday night show decided to beat up the little guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be fun.
And like, you don't need to attach the WWE name to it because we already know.
Right.
Because you're the only game in town. You know what I mean? So, like, you can literally rebrand it, give it a new name, like an NXT brand. Literally rebrand the whole show. I think that would be a perfect way to go about it, because until they do that, you can put whoever you want to on that show. It still feels like a B version of Raw.
Right. And the trading back and forth of superstars, the whole thing about Survivor Series that I thought was so funny is there's all these superstars who are quote unquote feuding with each other.
Yeah.
But they all get behind the fact that, Team Blue, Team Red. Really? So Team Blue. So you've got Baron Corbin fighting with Kalisto on Monday night, but on Tuesday night they're fighting for a belt.
Exactly.
That's silly. But let's just say hypothetically that WWE purchases Ring of Honor. Well, not all those Ring of Honor guys are going to want to sign with the WWE company.
Yeah.
So then Ring of Honor could become the Tuesday night show. So you've got Ring of Honor, you've got WWE, and you've got NXT. And start downplaying the WWE NXT, because I'm pretty sure it's just NXT.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got 3 specific brands.
Yeah. And you feel like you have alternatives.
Right.
And I don't feel like I'm watching Raw cast-offs.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And then when you do the British thing over in the UK, have its own brand.
They need to do that.
They
need their own crew over there.
Absolutely.
And they definitely need to do that and capitalize on that market.
That's what I would do. And I would probably, and I've said this before, I would probably get rid of most of I wouldn't get rid of most. I would, and I mean this in the kindest, gentlest way, ruthlessly get rid of a lot of talent. Because that was the thing about like old school Georgia Championship Wrestling. They didn't have a big roster. They didn't have to, because what they would do is they would go into partnership with another territory, and they would bring in the Von Erichs. They would bring in the Ric Flair. They would bring in the Dusty Rhodes. They were all kind of NWA.
The people that you aren't using, let them go.
Right, exactly.
It's not that I don't want people to lose their jobs. I'm not advocating that. But if you're, Aiden English, the Hype Bros,
Rusev,
like, you're not using them, then let them go do their own thing.
Yeah, where was Rusev this week?
Maybe I don't know. Who knows? Like,
Right.
He's tied to Lana, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
His career will never be what it was because he was tied to her for so long.
Yep.
When they took him away from her, then that kind of ruined his career. He needs an overhaul. He needs a remake. And if not, I don't see him being long for the company either, because at some point you can't go from being a machine to what is undefeated for 8 months.
I know, right?
You
yeah,
can't
he
go
was
from
a monster.
that. You can't go from that to being basically jobbed out to Randy Orton on SmackDown.
Right.
So at some point, I know he's on Total Divas. He actually comes across like very cool dude. Good personality.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they can turn him face and capitalize off of that.
Mm-hmm.
But he needs a makeover, and he has the size and the look that Vince likes. So I don't understand why they don't utilize him. Let him be himself. Maybe he'll show you that other side of him that would help him get over with the fans.
I agree.
They basically done that with Lana. She doesn't have as thick of a wrestling accent as she did at first.
I know.
She's wrestled. She's kind of branching out. I think they ruined her when they let her wrestle, but that's beside the point. They just need to figure out. Like I said, you have to build a solid foundation to where, if God forbid something happened to AJ Styles or Shinsuke Nakamura,
right,
or guys like that, you have somebody ready to take the ball and run with it.
Right.
SmackDown definitely needs a rebranding. Raw's always going to be looked at as the main show. They're promoting their 25th anniversary.
That's great.
On
both shows.
There's no way you can compete with that.
Right.
If you're a SmackDown brand.
Correct.
25 years in the game. There's no way, from a competition standpoint, you're going to compete with something that's already established for a quarter century.
I agree.
So, in order for them to step forward and move forward, utilize the talent that you have or get rid of the ones that you don't want to use. Rebrand. They need to rebrand it and promote the bottom middle card and establish more. It doesn't make sense having depth if you don't utilize it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just for sake of having depth.
Yeah, Ring of Honor does it really well.
Yes.
I mean, they've got their young bucks, and they, Kenny Omega does his stuff, and they just signed Cody Rhodes, but man, they still cheeseburgers on TV all the time. Cheeseburger. Some skinny bastard that has no business being in a wrestling ring still wrestles. He's still on TV, but you've got all sorts of guys that loom around the belts that they just do a better job of it, and that's part of the reason why WWE, if you're listening, we watch independent wrestling, because they get it. It's about wrestling. We want to see wrestlers that can tell story inside of a ring. And that match between Finn Balor and AJ Styles was a brilliant example of no build-up. Nobody knew what was happening. And then here comes these two dudes, and they damn near bring the house down.
Yeah. Because that's what the fans want.
That's what they do.
Give them what they want.
Right.
And guess what? They're going to tune in to your product. They're going to buy your merchandise. They're gonna buy into what you're trying to do. You have to listen to your audience.
It could be best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Monday night, there's your corporate. We've got the big audience. It's Monday night. It goes up against Monday Night Football. It's the sponsorship. It's this. It's that. And the other. It's the flagship juggernaut of Monday Night Raw.
Exactly.
And then Tuesday night, you've got something completely different. If you're going to keep doing back to back, and that's the fourth thing I would do, I would get it off of Tuesday night.
Put it on Thursdays.
Thursdays, maybe.
Back to where it was.
Yeah, probably, because this Monday Tuesday thing is a bitch.
Give the fans a break.
Yeah,
because you got NXT on Wednesdays,
right?
So you're giving them 3 days in a row.
I know.
Put them back on Thursdays, but like I said, you have to differentiate yourself between Raw, and it's like, this is a completely different show. This is more wrestling. There's less talking. We have a TV title,
or do Saturday night.
We have
call it main event wrestling. The MEW champion.
They could. I think from a. That'd be great for them for travel purposes.
Right.
Travel on the weekend.
Right.
We have the whole week off.
Well, they would probably do.
I think that's kind of why they do it Monday, Tuesday, so they have their weekends to the home.
Well, tough crap, kids. How many weekends do you work?
Yeah,
Right. You know what I'm saying? So I think we're in agreement.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
No, it just, like I said, man. It in order for them to go forward, like. Vince, he can't feel like he's always the smartest guy in the room. He has to listen to his audience, listen to his fan base.
Well, he's listening to the court. He's listening to the.
But that's fine. Guess where the corporations follow the money. Right. If your ratings are double what they are now, you're going to get more airtime. You're going to get more. Your corporate sponsors are going to love it. Yeah. Because they're reaching more people. So they just got to think bigger, man.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Hopefully they. I don't know if it's like I said the rioters or whatnot, but that's a conversation for another day. But tell us what you think. Let us know what you feel can be done to improve SmackDown Live. Do you think the brand split is working? Do you feel like SmackDown should rebrand itself? Email us. Go onto our Facebook page, Twitter page, all social media outlets. Tell us what you think. We'd love to hear your feedback. When you're ready to put your beer down.
Oh, beer. You're so dumb. You just want things to stay the way they are. Go ahead.
Follow us.
No, you forgot the other part.
What part?
That's the part where we talk about vintage pressing.
Oh, well,
our friends at Vintage Pressing.
I'll let you handle that one.
If you're looking for coasters or mouse pads all sorts of different things, you can visit our friends over at vintagepressing.com. Where you can get all of your printing needs done. Maybe not T-shirts, but they definitely do coasters and phone cases and mouse pads and luggage tags, and all that good fun stuff.
So yeah, fun with that ball like the WWE does.
No worries, right. No worries. So we definitely want to thank our friends over at Great Lakes Brewing,
yes,
and the Edmund Fitzgerald Porter. Go check this out. This is really good. We both killed ours.
It was a good, solid beer.
Yeah,
very smooth for a porter, not too heavy.
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
Giving Cleveland some love
always. Tell us about a YouTube.
So we've got a brand new YouTube channel. So the whole thing with YouTube, since we have a new channel and YouTube changed their rules, is you can't just name your channel. So we need 25 people to go subscribe. So we've got a few already. So go to YouTube, search Beers and Bodyslams Podcast, and you can listen to our podcast on YouTube. You can always find us over on iTunes. You can always find us on Stitcher. Make sure you go over there, subscribe on YouTube, hit the little bell icon so you get notified when we have a new show come up. And you can check us out there. Leave us a comment. Let us know you're listening. Also, find us over on the Facebook, facebook.com/Beers and Bodyslams Podcast. You can check out all of our social media posts. We share a lot of things from different sites as well.
You can follow us on Untapped. You can follow me as I revive my liver from a 2-week absence of drinking at Good OLJB.
You can find me at The Irish O'Leary. And if you really care what Mr. Fluffy's drinking, you should have been on the show. No, I'm kidding. You can find him at Mr. Fluffy.
Trust me, he's drinking 4 times what we're drinking. So
jeez,
he'll give you plenty of options to choose from, ladies and gentlemen.
That is true. Also, make sure you come find us over at beersandbodyslams.com. You can see all of our show notes, our archives. You can find some sponsors that are helping us out. A lot of great stuff over there. Make sure you check that out. So, other than that, my friends, anything else?
No, that's it. Good show today, Irish. Fluffy will be back next week, and the gang will be back together again.
That's right. And make sure that you keep your pint glasses full and your body slams stiff.
You've been listening to the Beers and Body Slams podcast. Find us online at beersandbodyslams.com and on Facebook at facebook.com/Beers and Body Slams podcast. Until next time.
Have a nice day.